Hey everyone, Coach Jason Tullis here again with 10 Act Championship Coaching. And today we're breaking down your pre-race logistics for the Leadville Mountain Bike 100. So you show up ready, calm, and confident on the race day. I'd say the number one place to start with would be where are you going to stay the night before? This can be very individual and it depends on, when you're planning to arrive and then who you're bringing with you and what you're planning to eat. So there's lots of options. And so the number one option obviously is Leadville. I mean, it's close and you'll be able to ride to the start. You have a place to recover after the race also. However, it is at 10,000 feet, so sleep and hydration will not be the greatest. I do suggest this if it's possible. If you're arriving on Friday and leaving on Sunday, Leadville is a great place. You just need to make your reservations maybe even a year early. Copper Mountain is where most people stay. It's less than a 45-minute drive and has better eating options. It's a little cheaper and a little lower in elevation. There can be some traffic though, so there's only one road to Leadville and everybody's on it the morning before the race. Buena Vista is again about 45 minutes away and not very many racers stay here. It's a much quieter place and I think it has the best eating options. This is where I prefer to stay. It's much lower in elevation, and if you're planning to be in the area for a few days prior to the event, it's a great place. Other options are like Vail. It's an hour and 15-minute drive, but other than that, it's pretty good. Frisco is a good place, and that whole area has cheaper hotel options and a lot of easy food options there. But it can be 1 to 1.5 hour drive. But in any case, make a plan, test the drive, and even ride to the start if you're staying in Leadville just to know how long it takes and then give yourself some extra time. I do suggest arriving an hour before you start. The next thing I would think about is your breakfast. Plan your breakfast the night before or even something that is great for you on really long rides. It should be familiar, be carb focused, like oatmeal, bananas, toast, nut butter. And then I would eat, a couple hours prior to the start just to allow everything to digest. And remember, practice this meal before race day. Practice even the timing. Another thing to think about is where to park. So if you are driving to Leadville, there is parking and a lot of parking downtown, but it can fill up fast. So you may find yourself parking on a side street. Again, I recommend arriving about an hour before to grab an easy spot, then settle quietly to prepare yourself for the big day coming up. Some questions I get on pre-race is to warm up or not. I mean, Leadville it can start very fast. It's at altitude, and whether you warm up, it kind of depends on what your goals are. If you're going for a specific time, you could do a short 10 to 15 minute spin. And I suggest this for most people. As you're warming up, that can be a great place to just see if your bike is working right. Are you wearing too many clothes? Just kind of get those things out of your mind so that you are ready to start. When you are on the start line, it's typically around 40 degrees. So many people will start in a vest or a jacket and they may be taking those off by the top of the first climb if you're able to do that, or at least in the first feed zone. And that can be weather dependent again. The one year that I did it, I was in a rain jacket the whole day. So come prepared. It's going to be cold or colder at the start, and hopefully it warms up really nice into the mid 60s and gives you perfect race conditions. Another thing to think about is pacing. You can break the course into segments using the feed zones like Pipeline, Twin Lakes, Columbine, and so on. So know what your target finish time is, but then know where you should be in each one of these feed zones so you can predict how long it's going to take and then also help predict your fueling. I do suggest not to go out too hard. St. Kevin's can be pretty steep at the very start, and you have a lot of adrenaline, and you can find yourself blowing up, or not blowing up on St. Kevin's, but blowing up later in the race by overdoing it early. Fueling and hydration, you should have a plan. be ready. This is something that you should be practicing every long ride between now and Leadville. Um, you want to experiment with lots of different things so that you know what your stomach is going to do over a long period of time. It's very rare that we ride 9, 10, 11, 12 hours. So eating for that long on the bike can be, it can be a challenge. And you can find yourself when you're getting to that 80-mile mark that you just do not want to eat anything. So try to work on that, or not try, but definitely work on your nutrition prior to the event. And then when you get to the event, you'll know exactly what to do and or how your stomach is going to react to that. If you do run out of stuff or you don't bring enough, each of the aid stations has plenty of food for you to be able to refill your water bottles and get gels or food or anything like that. So they do a good job at the feed zones. Altitude strategy is the last thing. It's, altitude's no joke there. So if you're arriving, 1 to 3 days prior to the event, you want to just focus on staying hydrated. One of the main things is when you get to altitude the air is drier, and you're going to be taking more breaths per minute than normal as your body is starting to adjust. So let's say you normally take 12 breaths per minute. When you get up to altitude, you could be taking 18 to 20 breaths per minute, and you're having to hydrate every one of those breaths. So it can be very easy to dehydrate, and that's why the danger days are days 3 through 8, and it's suggested not to show up between 3 and 8 days prior to the race. Sometimes it's impossible. You have a vacation or the way you've prepared, and you can create strategies around that. So around not dehydrating, but along with that dehydration comes fatigue because you're not sleeping as well at altitude. So, you can arrive 1 to 3 days prior or 3 to 8 days prior. And then for some people, it's best at 10 days plus. And that's where you'll start to adjust, not only from an altitude and performance piece, but you start to adjust getting comfortable where you're at. And that can be optimal, as far as like, you're not in a new place anymore. You're not eating new food anymore. You're able to recover and you're kind of normal before the race start. And this can be very effective. I would suggest, if you are going that many days out, or even the 3 through 8 days, that you focus on what you're there for. It can be very hard if you're trying to vacation and prepare for the race. Going hiking up to a 14er or going to see some alpine lakes is awesome and it's beautiful, but I would save those for after the race. So if you are planning a vacation around this event, I do suggest that you do that after the race. And I was mistaken. There's one last thing I wanted to say. Just make sure your bike is prepped and ready to go. Check your suspension, tires, drivetrain. I would do this in a couple weeks prior so that if you do need to order any parts, you're ready to do that. So make sure your bike is race ready the day before the event, especially, and then pick up your race number and get that onto your bike just to avoid any extra stress that could come upon yourself. So and then the last thing is just to show up on race day topped off with glycogen and fully hydrated. You don't want to wing this. You want to come in as fully prepared. The Leadville Mountain Bike 100 is a true test. So not just of fitness, but it's a test of preparation. This takes a lot of logistics, and that's one of the most fun things I find about it. So nail your logistics, trust your plan, and embrace this challenge. I'll see you out there, and remember, race smart and ride strong.